right, folks, welcome to another Monday Night Live. This is a live Q&A every Monday on the drone channel. If you have any drone questions, this is the place to ask them. Any questions about anything, really. I just got on set and put a long sleeve shirt because it's freezing in here, and I almost put it inside out, so you guys get lucky. You missed that. But yeah, welcome back. It's been a while. Last 2 weeks we were on the road. Last week we were traveling back. The week before that we were at the show at Oshkosh AirVenture 2024. Had a great time. Met a lot of you over there talking about drones, talking about airplanes. This is mostly obviously an airplane event, but we got to take a lot of pictures with students and got to talk about drones. We brought a Matrice 300. We brought a what else did we bring? Another drone. I don't know why I'm having a blank right now. No, we brought the FPV, the Sicario. Thank you. And then we had a great time. The weather was a lot better this year than it was the year before. No major storm. We only had to drop the tent one night, but otherwise fairly decent temperatures and rain on the very last day, which we were able to avoid. And it's been fun. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to say hi to a couple of people here, and then we can get into it. But we have Polly Shortcut. We have Sergio. Sergio's here every week. See that name. Richard Hooker, Sim, Curtis Warren, Drone Leg Guys. Those are all the regulars. Drone Leg Guys with the bacon. Bud Bieber is here. Michael Superbacker. Jillian from the community is here. Dean Schaefer, Black Sheep. Raymond is here. After As Media, also a name that I recognize. Ronnie Jr., Buzz Dixon, Juan Ricardo. We have Mechanical Triage. Interesting name. Trains, I'm guessing. Zach Chamberlain is here. That's Zach. This Zach. Zach is sitting over there. We have Hike and Fly, Scott Jordan, a bunch of people. Gina Mary Photography. Former Film Photography is here as well. So welcome all of you, and leave your comments in there. I see Alien Drones is here. Call F12 as well. I skipped a few names. Bob Casey, Ariel, trying to see the names that I recognize. But thank you all. Thank you. Lunch is here. A little late. Lunch. Just kidding. What else? Somebody's asking about the new building. So what are we doing with the new building? We got the demo permit finally. It took a while. I don't know why the city was dragging their feet, but we've been doing some demo, but we needed a permit to do other demos. So some of the walls are down that we wanted to take down, which is good. And then just keep cleaning up room after room. I don't know what's been done today. I'm going to find out tonight on my way back. But it's pretty exciting. Exciting to see the building shaping up. We cleaned up one of the rooms that had they had a kids area in there with a bunch of colorful tiles on the ground and then a bunch of tiny walls that we took down. So that was fun. And then we filmed a short, or not a short, long form. The production team filmed in there for the first time, so that should be coming out later next week, I think. You guys can see what fun they had in there. And then I think that's pretty much it so far for the new building. So it's moving along. Maybe at one point we should have maybe a walkthrough in there that we keep before they start building stuff. No, not one of these lives. I'm just saying, we'll do a video in there kind of giving you the idea of what it looks like right now before any construction is done. And then we'll keep that footage and then we'll show it to you at one point when we finish the whole building. So it's exciting. It's exciting. All right, let's get to the questions. So you know how this works. We have an hour. We go over any questions that you have. You put them in the comments. We have Jason in the back room who's filtering through all of the comments and then putting them for me right here. And then we'll read them. So Paulie says, last night, police chase in LA. Someone flew a DJI-like drone over the chase below the helicopter. Yikes. News anchors said instant jail for that guy. Is that correct? Probably not instant jail, but that's if they can catch him, quite frankly, or her. And Depends if it was an FPV. I don't know. There is obviously a lot of factors, but that person would probably get in trouble for sure. They might actually arrest them because of some local rules that have to do with flying unmanned aircraft. Every municipality typically has additional rules similar to the FAA that they can charge someone if they get caught doing something stupid, including this. Jim says, if I have a strobe on my drone that can be seen about 3 miles away, can I use that as my visual line of sight? No. So the FAA has been clear on this. You cannot use a light to extend visual line of sight. Visual line of sight is more than just seeing a dot on the horizon. Visual line of sight, especially if you read under Part 107, 107.31, talks about what are the things that you need to be able to see. The drone is one of them, but the attitude of the drone, the direction of the drone, the orientation of the drone. So you have to see more than just, again, a dot on the horizon. Sergio says, is the DJI RC worth it for the Air 2S? And will it be compatible when I upgrade? I understand that it doesn't have ability to download third-party apps. That is correct. It does not have the ability. So the non-pro version of these RC, these remote controllers from DJI, don't have the ability to add any kind of apps on it. Will it be compatible when I upgrade? That's something that we can only guess. DJI is not great at making new devices compatible with all devices. So something that you have to keep in mind when you purchase. As far as is it worth the upgrade, if you find a good deal, I would say yes, just because it's like I love the ability to just take the drone out of the bag, turn on the controller and go fly, because it's that much quicker. I don't have to deal with the phone, connecting the phone into the controller, and then going to the app, and then if you get a phone call in the middle of your flight, anyway, you get the idea. I think it's a great update and a great upgrade, and probably worth it. Roy says, has there been changes to the FAA regulation regarding recreational flying a drone? No, not recently. So the regulation changes in the regulation for flying a drone recreationally is 49 USC 44809, which is about 8 different rules that you have to follow, 9 different rules that you have to follow. And those haven't changed in several years. So if you've seen them in the past, they're the same. The addition that we got was in the 2015, 2016 Reauthorization Act. There were some changes in there, and it took several years for the FAA to put those in place. So that's how long it took to get in there. Ronnie Jr. says, when you pass the Part 107 through Pilot Institute, do you get your license in the mail? Looking about investing into another skill set. So the training that we provide is only training. We cannot issue the certificates. Only the FAA can do that. And in order to do that, you have to take a test at an FAA testing center with the FAA. And so we'll get you ready for the test. But as far as taking the test, you have to do that in person at a testing center. And then in order to get the certificate, you need to apply on the FAA website, which is free. The test in itself is $175. And then we show you in the course how to actually apply for that certificate. So we'll take good care of you, but we cannot issue the FAA certificate. Only the FAA can do that. Lunch says, in addition to FAA certificate and drone registration, what do you suggest to show law enforcement if approached, explaining that only the FAA controls the airspace, not the landowners? You shouldn't have to explain anything to law enforcement, but obviously it's not always the case. Not every law enforcement officer out there is aware of the regulation. There is an FAA resource called the oh man, I'm having a brain fart again. Called the sorry. Anyway, there's somebody. It's going to come back to me. There is an agent. There's a specific department at the FAA that helps law enforcement know the rules, and so they can call these people and then get them educated if something happens. But to go back to your question, LEAP, thank you, LEAP agent, law enforcement something program. So the LEAP agents with the FAA are trained to deal with law enforcement officers. Next. So yeah, I'm sorry. To go back to your question, what else should you show? Your ID, your registration, and then your pilot license. That's all that I would show law enforcement. I don't know that they would request anything else because that's really by law what you have to show them. And then Jason just put a link to the LEAP program into the comments. Drone Lake Guy says, how's the new building coming along? I just answered that question. Rob Ward says, do you know of an insurance company that will cover you with the OOP waiver? Any of them, really. It's an FAA waiver, which means that you're flying legally, so they should all be able to cover you for that. I don't know of any that don't cover for that. That's if that makes any sense. Okay, next question. Is there an update on the DJI ban? Cody, we talked about this on Friday, so I don't know if you've seen that update, but that was the latest. The latest really is that Rick Scott, senator from Florida, is pushing a new bill to add to the NDAA language that would somewhat match the countering CCP language from Stefanik from the House. So he would be pushing that into the Senate. We don't really know much more at this stage, but now is a good time, as always, to contact your local representative and let them know that this is total BS. And yep, that's where we are. Sorry, I don't have much more information, but as we hear more, obviously, I'll tell you more. Good evening, everyone. That's Fire Chief. If I fly DJI Mini 4 Pro under 249 grams and do a flight under Part 107, I don't know what that means. Is that a previous question? Yeah.
No, I think he's just talking about the remote ID stuff for the mini drones.
Oh.
A whole video about that.
So yeah, if it's a remote ID question, if you fly a DJI Mini 4 Pro under 249 grams, but under Part 107, you do need remote ID. Remote ID is required for any drones under Part 107. It's not required for smaller drones under recreational rules, but not under Part 107. Drone Pilot Queensland says, hi there, with the rumored release of the Mavic 4, how far behind does DJI traditionally release the enterprise range after the consumer drone release? It takes several months. So, I mean, I don't know their release schedule. I've seen rumors about the Mavic 4, but obviously we know that DJI loves to release stuff for the holidays because it's a good selling time. So, which makes sense. So if anything, if they release something by the end of the year, which again, I have no outsider information on that, but I'm just guessing, then probably early next year is when we would see something with an enterprise model, which to me is nuts because they came up with all these Mavic 3 models just last year. It took a long time for us to go between the Mavic 2 and the Mavic 3. And all of a sudden, we get a Mavic 3, and then a year later, potentially get a Mavic 4, which is just insane. So those rumors are still pretty far. It's kind of funny. I look at this I look at these rumors in terms of how pixelated the pictures are. And that means the more pixelated they are, the further away we are from a release time. So it is very scientific if you look at the data. Now, it's historically, you start to see a bunch of rumors. That's because somebody in China is testing these drones and somebody happens to just catch them in the distance. I'm sure DJI has little areas where they test all of this tech. And, you know, if you're an acute observer, you can probably catch some of their models early, which is why a lot of these pictures look grainy, because people probably have to take those pictures from a distance. It's kind of like Bigfoot, right? But the closer we get to the release, the more people get their hands on them. And then you know that when we start to see very clear pictures with packaging, it's because some influencer got a copy of one early and then it got leaked. And that's usually how it works. So we're still pretty far because the pixels are still pretty large. So, and if I hear anybody else with this idea, this was mine first. Okay. I see Vic is in the chat. Vic, hi Vic. Hope you're feeling better. Vic is, well, he can say it if he wants to. Rick Hooker says, 2 questions tonight. What do you think the economic impact will be on the U.S. if the CCP goes through? Training, real estate, police, fire, accessories. It's going to be massive. I mean, there's no question. There's no, DJI has 70% of the market. At the moment, there is no replacement for these drones that the people that are watching this show right now fly, aka the Air series, the Mini series, even the Mavic series, the non-enterprise model. There's no replacement for them. So not only there's an economic impact because now people are going to have to fly the same drone until somebody catches up and start to sell these drones, and then obviously for police, fire, we've talked about this, all the public safety agencies, if they don't have a drone to fly, then they just can't use it to do a better job at what they do, which means that people are going to get lost in the woods and not found, which means people are going to die because of this. And I know it sounds like I'm like embellishing this thing and like making it like this big deal, but it's not. It really is. And you talk to search and rescue teams and they will tell you people will die because they will not have access to the right tools. So that's just the bottom line. I mean, that's just there's no other way. So as far as the a monetary amount, I don't know what it would be, but yeah. Keegan says, FA Part 107 says, no flight over people with basically any DJI drone, but how close laterally must one be before it is considered over people? That's the thing. Over means just that, over. Any part of the drone being over any part of a human body. That's when it's considered over. Now, I will add that drones, when they fly forward, they have momentum, which means that if you lose a motor in flight or a battery or whatever it is, and you're moving forward, the drone is going to continue to move forward for a little bit before it starts to come down. So I would say I would give personally myself a margin of safety to make sure that if I lose my motor, I don't crash in something. This is something that we teach manned aircraft pilots as well. If you're going to lose your engine now and you're flying at low altitude, you got to have an option to land somewhere so you don't hurt someone. That's the same idea here. So yeah, that's, I think, the answer. But yeah, over means just that, over people. I would like to film a wind turbine with my FPV drone. Is it legal to do that? It is technically legal as per the FAA, unless there is airspace restriction, obviously. You have to keep in mind what land you're taking off from and landing from. And then also you have to think about the potential damage that you can do to a wind turbine if you hit it with your drone. So I would say be careful. These things move a lot of air, and yeah, just don't get sucked in or whatever. Be careful not to create damage, obviously, to other people's property. Nathan ends here, says, can I use a remote ID to identify someone, or does only law enforcement have that identifying information? You do not have access to that. Only, not even law enforcement, actually, only the FAA has access to that. And then law enforcement technically is supposed to request that information from the FAA. So not public information, which is good. Peaceful Thrill Seeker says, do you think the rumored Air 3S, Air 4 will have a variable aperture? Based on the leaks, it is rumored to have two 1-inch sensors. Ooh, your thoughts, prediction. So historically, I'll tell you historically, again, I don't have any insider information, but historically the Air series and the Mini series never had a variable aperture. This was reserved entirely for the the Mavic series. So we've seen that with the Mavic 2, we've seen that with the Mavic 3, and then same with the Air 2 and Air 3. So if this is an S version, Air 3S, we saw going from the Air 2 to the Air 2S an increase in the size of the sensor. We had a 1-inch sensor on the Air 2S. I don't remember what it was on the Air 2. And then, so if this is a 3 to 3S, we can possibly get a 1-inch sensor. 2 of them, I don't know. It's possible, but the Mavic, the Mavic 3 has a 4/3 sensor, and then a smaller sensor than that, not a 1-inch, on the other cameras. So I don't know. 2 1-inch sensors, I don't know if that makes sense, but that would be cool. I think that would be, I think a lot of the complaints from people on the zoom lenses is that they're usually smaller sensors and not as good quality. So that would kind of solve that. It would be a cool update. I don't know if it would be a 4 or a 3S. I don't know. It depends on how much more technology they're adding in there. But the Air 2 to the Air 2S was a big jump in connectivity between the two drones, much better in flight time. That was probably one of the biggest upgrade between two models that we've seen in a long time. So, but again, just me making stuff up. Richard Hooker says, second, why do you think DJI doesn't build in FA light visible from at least 3 statute miles into their drone? Primarily because, and again, that's a guess, because the DJI makes drones for the international market, where the 3 statute mile is only a requirement in the United States and maybe a few other countries, but it's not something international. So Carl Becker says, just looking for confirmation. If I wanted to create a video to give my employee free of charge, but it's for the company website, will I need Part 107? Yes, you do. It has nothing to do with getting paid. It has to do with the fact that it's a non-recreational flight. So understand that any flight in the United States is covered under Part 107 rules. Any flight in the United States is covered under Part 107 rules, except for a tiny little carve out that the FAA said for recreational flying, you can fly under this set of rules, 49 USC 44809, if you are flying only solely for recreational purposes, which is a very limited activity. So in your case, it's not recreational, meaning that it falls under Part 107. I know a lot of people like to say Part 107 is the commercial thing. It's not only commercial, it's everything that is not recreational. So that's how you need to think about it. Peaceful Thrill Seeker says, what are some good ways to deter birds from attacking your drone? I don't know, actually. I don't know that there is a good way. Maybe a flashing light on top, a strobe light, that might scare them. Just think about how a bird thinks. It sees that thing in the airspace and it's attacking because it feels threatened that you're probably in their area. So if you see a drone coming at you, climbing up very fast is the best way to avoid it, because that's not something that birds are necessarily designed to do, like in a straight up vertical line. They can descend very fast, but creating lift in this direction is not as easy as it is to create lift as they go forward. So that's the best way to avoid it. But otherwise, to deter them, I would say bright lights, maybe like shiny lights on them, like reflective surfaces on the drone. That's what we used to do as a kid when we had a lot of fruit trees where I grew up, and we would put CDs in the trees. For those of you that don't know what CDs are, they're those things that we used to play music on. Just kidding. They're like DVDs but smaller. But if you don't know what, well, no, room-wise, they don't have as much storage. Yeah, storage. Sorry, it's trying to be funny. They're not as big as what was those big discs? No, the laser discs. Yeah, they're not as big as the laser discs. Okay, Joe Campbell says, "Did I answer the question?" Yeah, I did. But don't put CDs dangling from your from your drone, though. That might be cool. We should do that. We should make a video on that. We should make a short trying to scare birds. Joe Campbell says, thanks for everything you do for the community. You're very welcome. When flying FPV alone, what are the VLOS rules, visual line of sight rules? Well, unfortunately, you cannot, if you listen to the visual line of sight rules by the FAA, you cannot fly FPV alone. You always need to have a visual observer. The reason for this is because the FAA wants you to, wants at least one person to always look at the drone. So, yep, you need to have a visual observer. When you have the goggles on, it doesn't work, as far as the rules. Phew! Vic says we should make that short in Vegas.
We can't fly in Vegas?
Yeah, he can. He's got a waiver. We can do that. There's a lot of birds, a lot of pigeons in Vegas, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of birds always hanging around the... Yeah, we should. That'd be fun. Somebody's name is Jay with a lot of A's. Jacob Photography says, a large area near me, just south of Salt Lake City, Utah, has been designated as zipline drone delivery. Am I restricted in flying in this area, or is it just an area just for awareness? So that would, I would need to see what it looks like, but my guess is that it's not a TFR, temporary flight restriction. It's more than likely a NOTAM, a notice of to air mission, and it's just to let you know that there is something going on there. You technically can fly there. You just have to be extra cautious by looking at other drones in the area. And those are pretty big drones. So, is it worth taking my drone to Oahu? Oahu, is that how you say it? Oahu. I hear that there's a lot of restrictions there. I would take a look at the chart, but I know Hawaii has a lot of restrictions with drones, so make sure you look beforehand. Look for airspace restriction, look for wilderness area restriction, which I'm sure there's a lot of over there, so just be careful. And if you don't know, if you're one of our members, go to the community, community.pilotinstitute.com, and go take a look at the Hawaii section. We have a state page, a state what do you call it? Yeah, page in there, and just go ask questions. And I'm sure other people from Hawaii will be able to guide you with the locals knowing what's going on. Okay, Roland says he is in over there, and he said there are many great places to fly. So there you go. You get somebody local. Thanks for saying that, Roland. DJ Delamora says, how difficult and how long would it take for a school district to get a COA for security to utilize drones for crowd monitoring, like at football games that might get rowdy? What kind of school are you in? Oh, is it football? Those hooligans? Wait, football or soccer? Because soccer I can understand. Football doesn't get that crazy. Yeah, you're right. Soccer is football. Yes, in most places. Anyway, sorry. Let's answer the question. So how difficult is it? So COA, certificate of authorization, are limited to, are very limited in scope as to who qualifies for them. A school, to my understanding, would not qualify for a COA. Now, with that being said, you may not need to have a COA. You can more than likely do monitoring using a drone for crowd. It all depends on how you set it up. Just top of my head, you could have an area where the drone is flown over a building, for example, and just monitors what's going on over there. And as such, you don't really need any extra approval other than a Part 107, and then probably the school's approval to make it happen, obviously. But yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Dean Schaefer says, how many lava lamps are going to be in the new place?
We should at least get a medium one that will turn on within an hour.
Well, we should get a medium one that's going to turn on within an hour. I agree with that. We could get more. I think we have a lava lamp expert on staff now, so I'm sure she can guide us and let us know.
Probably maximum 7.
7, yeah.
Minimum 4.
7 is a good number. We should have some in the, so we're going to have a Zoom room in that new building. We should have some in the shelf behind it. I think it would be mesmerizing. It'd be pretty cool. Yeah, we're going to have a Zoom room. It's a small closet that we're going to designate as a Zoom room. It's going to be a lot bigger than the current closet in which we're doing Zoom meetings. It's going to be nice, but yeah, I think that would look cool. That would look cool. Engineer, that's Minot. Minot says, I see that you are at booth 427 at Commercial UAV Expo. In a few weeks, can you give us an idea of what the expo is like? Yeah, the expo is cool. So Commercial UAV Expo, first week of September, starts on Tuesday and then ends on Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, well, it starts on Tuesday night. The floor is open on Wednesday all day and then on Thursday all day. And it's a lot of presentations from industry professionals if you want to pay for that pass to go see the presentations. Otherwise, you can get a free pass, and you can use coupon code SAVE100. See, Vic, I remembered. You can use the coupon code and actually get into the floor for free. And in the floor, there is, I don't know, hundreds of companies that are UAS related and are going to be presenting their product, including ourselves. So we actually ended up being right next to DJI, which is awesome. So we'll have a big 20 by 20 booth that we usually take to those events. And then we'll be ready to sign autographs and, no, just kidding. Just to say hi to everyone that want to stop by. Next. Truth Guy says, how is Oshkosh? Just rewind a little bit. You may have missed it, but I talked about Oshkosh early on. Oshkosh was awesome. We had a great time. Great weather. Saw a ton of people, new customers, old customers, and everything. Not old in age, but, well, some were, but just former or existing customer, I should say. Vic says, black and white prints. Yeah, eventually we'll get those black and white prints from Vic and put them in the building. So.
Well, he's offering lava lamps now, so we'll have to just see which one comes first.
He's offering what?
Lava lamps.
Oh, lava lamps too.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll see. My hopes are not high.
Well, Vic, Ben said he doesn't have any hope in you. All right. Nathan says, is Aloft Air Control as reliable as FA before you fly service? Yeah, it's the same. I mean, essentially, it is the same app that Aloft repackaged with even more information in it. So, yes, it's as reliable, if not more. Norman Rieger says, what do you think about the DJI Neo coming out? I have not seen enough information to make up an opinion. I'm sure there's been more, but it's been pretty crazy in the office last couple of days, so I haven't been able to read any of the articles if there has. But it sounds to me like a smaller drone, probably in 100 and some gram, probably sub 200, based on the size of the battery and everything. I'm going to guess probably a tiny whoop for inside flying, maybe. Again, just guesses. But Neo means new, right? In some language, in Greek, in Latin.
Means the one, right?
Neo means the one.
From the Matrix.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
That's not a language. So, well, I mean, maybe that's what they meant. I don't know. But anyway, we'll see. But it seems like a small drone. It's got a 2S battery, so it's pretty small. So we'll see what happens. David says, hi from California. If we were spraying fields with the Agras T40, T50, would you have any hesitation spraying a state legal marijuana grow? Good question. So, federal regulation versus state regulation. I think I see what you're saying. The FAA does not really care what you do. I don't know if that's going to sound right, but what you do with the drone per se. The FAA is not really involved in this. What the FAA cares as far as marijuana is you smoking it or ingesting it, you using it. They don't want that. As far as anything else involved, that would become a state thing versus federal regulation. But as far as the FAA is concerned, I don't see any limitations to do that. Yeah. Not that I can think of. Maybe somebody else has a better idea, but top of my head, no. Vic says you sound like my wife, Ben. Vic, I'm going to tell her you said that. She a smoker? Okay. Roland says, by the way, Vic's wife is absolutely charming and an amazing person. She came here when he was here, and we had a great time. So I hope she comes to Come UAV, actually. Roland says, are there any special rules for flying near but at least 100 foot outside of a construction zone? Example, building that will eventually be 15-story tall, but currently 5-story. No, really, construction zones are not really limited. Obviously, you have to follow FAA regulations, so think about flying over people, airspace, if there is any airspace. But other than that, no real, regulation as far as that's concerned. Paul Y says, if it is illegal to land or launch on certain property, can I land launch from my hand? No, that's been brought up several times. Your hand is kind of an extension of your body, so it would still technically be operating to and from the land. Now, if you can levitate and then take off from your own hand.
You can levitate, you don't need a drone.
That's true. If you can levitate, you can, yeah. So I don't know. Magic carpet, hovercraft, hoverboard, all of those, but no. No,
What-
more seriously, no, it's yeah.
What if you jump and then launch the drone?
If you still operating, then you have to stay up in the air while you're controlling the drone if you jump. Okay, next. It seems that DJI Neo is in the Google 3 when you go to select aircraft. What are your thoughts on the DJI Neo? What's the Google 3?
You mean the goggles?
Goggle? What's the Goggle 3? Oh, the Goggle, I'm sorry. Interesting. When you select aircraft. We'll have to test that. But, yeah, I don't know. There's still not enough information, I think, on that one. Somebody caught me already. Said if I could levitate, I would not need a drone. Yeah, but levitation is just like a few feet off the ground, right? Otherwise, it's called flying. So, Drone Lake Guy says, did you state that Rick Scott's amendment would ban current DJI drones? Well, I did initially in the news update, and then I edited it out because the language is confusing. Let's put it this way. But I talked to Vic about this, and I have to agree that it looks like the language would not ban current drones, only future drones. So I apologize if you saw the segment when it was still saying that it would ban current fleets. It depends on whose interpretation you read of this new thing. But after rereading and kind of doing some research, I think I have to agree that it would only ban future drones and not current ones. So it was the same thing. It's the same thing that we've seen with Stefanik. And Vic had a meeting with one of her staffers that kind of said, well, no, we're not going to ban current ones. We only want to ban future ones. So it also depends if we want to take these politicians' word to what they are. But, yeah. Are you familiar with the drone manufacturer Bwine or the Bwine F7 whatever? I've heard of it, but I have not really heard great things about it. It's a pretty cheap drone, and I think from most accounts that we've seen, they don't last very long. Let's put it this way. Joshua says, what are your thoughts on eVTOLs and how do they not require a pilot license? Well, so the FAA has this thing called Part 103. And Part 103 has to do with flying ultralights. And ultralights don't have a lot of rules, but they also don't have a lot of privileges. So it means that these things can be flown typically at low altitude without a certificate, which is still a bit mind-blowing to me. But also, it kind of puts the onus on the operator, who's usually sitting right there in the aircraft, dangling from a wing or dangling behind a paraglider or behind a big motor that spins. So there is an incentive as far as saving their life to actually be trained on some basics before they can fly. And like I said, they have restrictions as to where they can fly. And yeah, that's what I would say. So let's put it this way. It hasn't been an issue, but so I'm going to make a prediction because the FAA is working on new regulation for eVTOL. Right now, they fall under Part 103 because of the shape and the size and the weight of these aircraft. But my guess is that this will change over time. The FAA will make probably specific regulation for it. Just like drones used to not have Part 107, and all of a sudden now we have Part 107. So as these aircraft become more popular and start to be in the air a lot more, the FAA is going to tighten the regulation. The reason it hasn't been tightens for until now, it's because it's never been a problem. And operators that fly paramotors, paragliders, are careful about what they do, and they try not to kill themselves doing something stupid, because if they do, like I said, they would kill themselves. And so it's kind of, yeah, I don't think it will change until we see a lot of eVTOL out there, and then the FAA will come up, which they're, as I said, they're already working on new regulation. Whew. Okay. I need water. Did you crack a beer over there? Is that what I heard? Oh, it's the pineapple spritzer? Nice.
Ethan's not flying.
Not fly. Yeah. All right. Whew. Next. John SB says, in my country, you cannot fly over the premises of school grounds or over private property. This would interfere with the drone club I am starting at my school. Is this unlawful? Can I fight this? In my county, not country, I'm sorry. In my county, you cannot fly over. Technically, so I don't know what state you live in, John, but technically only the FAA can restrict airspace access. So if they're preventing someone from flying over private property, this should be challenged for sure. For sure. Brent says, I was recently told that recreational pilots operating out of a FRIA are not required to mount a compliance strobe when flying at night. That is not correct. Is that accurate? That is not correct. FRIAs are in place to not require remote ID. That's it. So if you fly inside of a FRIA, you do not need to have remote ID module, because it's an FAA recognized identification area. That's what FRIA stands for. And that's, but as far as the strobe light, it does not negate the need for having a strobe light. Phew. Next. David says, question about medicals. Is this correct? Non-needed for Part 107. That is correct. Class 3 needed for 44807. That is correct. That's flying large drones, spraying drones, and Part 137. Class 2 for COAs. No. COAs would not have a medical requirement as well, just like Part 107, as far as I'm concerned, unless it was added for whatever reason, but no. Class 2 would be required for Part 135 operation, which is drone delivery, flying for drone delivery. Whew. David says, no, he just said that. I just answered. Ted says, have you heard anything about the FAA setting up a process for a nationwide COA for organizations that operate frequently in controlled airspace? I have not. You'd have to make a pretty good case to get pretty much a card to fly anywhere, anytime. Ross says, I have a really hard time seeing which direction my Mini 4 is facing. Yep. What do you suggest to help with this? That will also keep it under 250 grams. Yeah, there's not much I can suggest for that. I mean, you can put a colored tape on the arms. So, a certain color on the left side and a certain color on the right side, maybe even different colors in the front, if that helps you orient it. You can also turn when you're in flight, use the yaw to turn left and turn right to kind of see the orientation. And then as you do that, kind of move left and right using the right stick to kind of go sideways to see how the drone is moving. That will help you determine which direction it is. So if the drone is facing here and then you start to go right and left, then it's going to go right and left. And then if the drone is facing you and you go right, then it's going to go in this direction. So that should help you really figure out which way it's going. That's what I can think of. Dylan says, is there any instance where you can fly through clouds to inspect the top of a tower, or just no? I passed on Friday. No, because flying through a cloud would mean you would lose visual line of sight. And then keep in mind, Part 107 also has distance from cloud requirement, and then 500 feet below 1,000 feet horizontally, and then it has visibility requirement, 3 statute mile minimum. So once you're inside the clouds, then you would lose visual line of sight as well. So nope, that's a no. Mark says, is there a way to remove the GUI from the USB-C video out port on the DJI RC2?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. I think on our cameras it's called clean feed. It might be something titled like that.
How would you access that though?
In the settings
Oh.
of the drone controller.
Oh. Okay.
Not 100%, but
If somebody has an answer on that.
on the Crystal Sky that was an option.
Oh, on the Crystal
back
Sky,
in the
yeah.
day.
Yeah, that was back in the days. Nathan Flies Here says, I've been enjoying flying my Air 3, but on hot summer days, the battery hit 40 degrees Celsius very quickly. How worried should I be about letting my batteries get that hot? 40C is actually not horrible. It's probably passable. Thank you, Ben. So you just have to keep an eye. I mean, 40C, yeah, is not horrible. It depends on the outside temperature. What was the outside temperature? I think if you get in the upper 40s, low 50s, that's when I would start to worry. But 40 Celsius is not bad. And there's a big difference between 40 and 50, by the way, in Celsius.
Will you convert that for us Americans over here?
You put vodka in here, Ben? In Celsius, 40 is 90, upper 90s, low hundreds.
Oh yeah, that's not too
That's
terrible.
not horrible. Yeah, 50s is Phoenix on a hot day. Okay, next. Vic says, by the way, Chris says, thanks. I played you the comment. Awesome. Ron says, with the Mini 4 Pro, do I need to register it when I put the larger battery in it that makes it over 249 grams? Yes, you do. So recreationally, if the drone is over 249 grams, then you need to register. So yes. We're getting to the end of the comments. Woo, that's the first. Is it legal to fly over a railroad track? According to the railroad police, they say they own the airspace, which I know they don't. That is a... yeah, they're trying to bully you. They do not own the airspace. Now, they do own a lot of land around the tracks that technically they can prevent you from taking off and flying. You should not be flying over railroad, over cars. Train cars? Is that what they call them? Train cars that have people in them, because you're not allowed to fly over people inside of moving vehicles. But it's a freight train, and you're flying over the freight and you're taking off from outside of their land, then there is really nothing they can do. They will try to bully you, I'm sure. That's sure. But yep. Vic says bovine scat. That's right. Railroad police is pushy for sure. NL Wolf says, is it common for DJI to restrict the battery to DJI only batteries? Yes. I've seen that. We've seen it with the Specta Air 3, which is an Air 3 copy. You cannot use the batteries between those two drones interchangeably. Whew. North Carolina webpage is very difficult to navigate. Will you post a link for where a pilot needs to go to get proper certificate to fly for profit in North Carolina? Well, good news, Vincent. That's no longer a requirement. North Carolina actually dropped the requirement for an additional North Carolina specific certification or registration, whatever they called it. That's no longer in place. So, the kids back there clapping? Yeah, no. So no, that's a no, which is cool. Okay. Well, guess what? We made it to the end of the session of the questions, which is rare. Usually I run out of questions. So if you have more, I think maybe after all these, we've been doing this for a year now. Maybe we've answered every question and people don't have questions anymore. Would that be nice? Not that I mind answering the question. I love answering the questions, but it would be good to get a more educated industry for sure. So I appreciate always all of you coming here, asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. This is what we're here for. This is what we do every day. And it's exciting. Also, what's exciting is the fact that we have a new employee that just started today. His name is Scott. He's going to be in charge of our remote flight instructor program. Scott is somebody that I've worked with for many years now. When I was at the university where I worked at before, I got great respect for what he's done over the years, and he's going to be joining our team now. So I'm really excited. If you're not familiar, we're starting a remote flight instructor program that's going to help folks get trained on how to become an instructor for drone flying, which is unique in the country. There's really not, that I know of, any organizations that are doing such a thing. Not only are we doing this, but we're doing it using existing standards that are approved by many industries, including ASTM, including the FAA. Even though the FAA does not have a remote flight instructor standard, we created one based on flight instructor standards for our airplane. And so we spent a lot of time on this. It's been several years now that we've been working on this program. And and then Scott is going to be taking it to the finish line. So it's exciting. We'll have more information coming out very soon. Classes will be starting as soon as we move to the new building, but look for more information. So if you're interested in kind of going to the next level, we're not going to teach you how to fly drones necessarily. We're going to teach you how to help people become drone pilots, and there's a lot associated with that. My biggest gripe over the years in this industry is that anybody and everybody can basically start saying that they're a drone instructor, which takes a lot to do this in the manned aircraft world. And I wanted to bring these standards to the UAS industry to make sure that we had people that were trained properly to teach others, to teach aviation. Teaching aviation is like teaching anything else. You need training on how to teach people, and that's what we're going to be doing. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And then we will be at Commercial UAV Expo. I don't remember the exact date, but it's the first week of September 4th, maybe 4 or 5 or something like that. 3rd through 5th. Okay. And on that Tuesday, Vic and Jared, that I haven't seen in the chat today, but usually here, Jared is our mapping instructor. Jared, Vic, and then Desi, and then Kenji Sugihara, if you're familiar with him as well, has been on the show quite a few times. And then who else do we have? Amy as well is going to be doing the moderation for that panel. So we'll be on the panel. We'll be talking about actual drone pilot activity at Commercial UAV Expo, and it's really exciting. So look for us in the listing, and then and hopefully come and cheer while we're there. And I see another question. Can you take off outside a national park, fly into the park, and can only stay outside the park but take pictures into the national park? Yes, technically you can. You have to be careful that there is no airspace restriction. So this doesn't work in the Grand Canyon, for example. The Grand Canyon, in addition to ground restrictions from the Park Service, there's also a flight restriction by the FAA on top of the park. Not all national parks are like that, but some of them are. My personal opinion on this is sometimes because you can doesn't mean you should. I like to be a good steward of our industry, but I also understand that there are some circumstances where it is okay to do that in a respectful manner and not disrupt the environment for others. That's what I'm going to say. Are there any programs like DJI Flight Simulator for DJI RC controller, or is there any way to connect your remote control for training on this simulator? Yes, there is. Well, there used to be, and I haven't used that in a while, there used to be a DJI simulator, but I don't on PC and on Mac, but I haven't seen that in a while. You could connect your controller. Is it still existing? And then with the DJI flight simulator, you can plug in your controller and actually fly the drone that way. So if you have like an FPV drone, for example, I'd recommend doing that. Are there any U.S. states that are more strict on drone flight than FAA regulation, where Part 107 may get in trouble unknowingly? I mean, California comes to mind because we're close to California and we get a lot of emails from people about drone regulation in California. All of the parks pretty much in California don't allow for drones. Some states have state park restrictions as well as national parks. Obviously, we've talked about that. But some states like Arizona don't have restrictions on state parks. So it depends on where you are. But yeah, California definitely comes in top of my mind as one of them. Is a national reserve considered a national park? No, it's not the same thing. It's a little bit different, DJ Andreas. Mike Ramsey says, yeah, Texas is very strict on drones too. That's right. Mike Ramsey says, I work for a roofing company to do inspection in regards to damage. This is always time sensitive. A lot of times this lies in Class C airspace in an urban area. Can we get clearance to fly right away? Yeah, I would say try to get... It depends on what you want to fly. So I'm sure Class C is going to be Lance approved, so you should be able to get approval immediately to fly in that area within the limits of the grid right there. If you want to fly, if it's not Lance active, then you can get a wide area authorization. And if it's Lance approved and you want to fly above the grid, then that's going to be a bit more difficult to get instant approval. But if it's Lance approved, then you should be good to go. And if it's not Lance approved, you can get a wide area authorization. James says, what minimum training experience do you think the FAA wants a VO to have in order to comply with standard provision 1B on the OOP 10739 waiver? James, what I would do is not so much... what I would do is I would put them through, and I hate to say it like this because it sounds like I'm selling, but through the course that we designed. Because we designed that course specifically for this. We had customers that had waivers and that needed VO, visual observer, and those VOs needed training. So we created a course that basically puts... issues a certificate at the end to say that they've been trained. That's what we use internally for our employees, and that's also the reason why we made it, so that we can put our employees through it and then have that certificate that says they received training, and then they're good to go. So otherwise, you can put a training curriculum together of your own, put them through the training, and then basically said, this is what we've covered, and then provide it to the FAA if they ask. There's no specific training requirement per se. It just says that they have to be trained. So you can come up with your own training. And then if the FAA argues, you can say, well, this is what I did and this is why I did it. And then I doubt that anybody would argue with that. Next. End of show, says Jason. 2 minutes to go. All right, let's see if we have any last minute stragglers. Quick Cat says Massachusetts banned takeoff and landing on all state property. Yikes, not enforced. North Carolina restrict all state parks, no drones. DC metro area is very restricted. That's right. I forgot about that. DC is definitely one of the top one. DC, Vegas, and New York City are definitely some very restricted areas. And yeah. Why not train them as Part 107 pilots? You can do that as well, AirFox. It's just obviously a bit more of a cost if you want to train a VO, but just to be a visual observer, I would say. I know Vic has a VO that he's trained to be Part 107 rated. I think it depends on what you want them to do in the long run. If it's a long-term relationship with your VO, then I would say, yeah, definitely do that. But our VO course is priced accordingly to not be breaking the bank. Whew. Alternative to Litchi. I don't have one. Litchi is pretty much unique in what it does.
There is none besides the built-in DJI functions.
Yep.
Not that I've seen.
Yep.
I love Litchi. Litchi is awesome.
Yeah, Litchi is harder to be compatible now with newer drones because of the SDK. So that's the only downside. Can you fly the DC metro area outer ring? Yes, the outer ring has different restrictions. You have to follow basic FAA rules, if I remember correctly. Gabor, I would say go and look at... Oh, Litchi? Yeah, those are my hairy Litchi. Let's show these. So for those of you that don't know, a Litchi is a fruit. and it's kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but this is the equivalent of a lychee, but it's a hairy lychee. These are called, I just bought them today, rambas. And the inside tastes just like a lychee, but the inside is a very white flesh, and really tasty and sweet and awesome. But these are kind of funny texture. So eat one. No, I can't. I need a knife to cut it open, and then they're kind of messy. So, yep. Yeah, and they have a little pit on the inside, so it's cool. It's fun. So if you've never seen those, they're pretty rare. I've only found them at Trader Joe's here locally. So, whew. All right. Well, this might be the end of it. One more thing. Michael says the Class C airspace is 0 feet up to 400 with authorization. Further coordination always takes 5 days. And always is denied. Yeah, I think, Michael, you need to work on why it's getting denied, and work with the FAA to find out why they're denying it. It could be because you're just too close to the airport. Zero grid is really close to the airport or to a heliport or something else. But if they give you one approval, you might be able to actually get more in the future quicker, and you can ask them to be in that area for an extended period of time and get that specific approval. So that's what I would do. I would, yep. Yep, hairy lychee. That's right. Will Enzu be the best replacement for DJI? I hope so, if it gets banned. But the problem is that some of these bans are getting creative with the language and trying to ban companies like Enzu, not Litchi. All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and we will be here on Friday morning with news update as always, and Friday night we have the community happy hour at 4 o'clock Pacific time and at 7 o'clock Eastern. So join us, come ask more questions. We might have a special guest. I'm going to ask Scott if he wants to be on camera on Friday, and if not, we'll convince him the next week. So all right, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.